So vision is received from the spiritual authorities. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he had a vision. He envisioned that Russians and Prussians, Germans and Bengalis would dance and chant together and sing Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari. That was his vision. Yes, Maharaj.
Maybe you can help us to give some advice how to connect with the vision of Acharyas. Connect with the vision of Acharyas.
We have to hear from the right source for a very long time. Like Prabhupada, he heard from his guru. He said, whenever I had the chance, I would go hear him. And he was noted by his guru for his keen hearing. He said, yes, I have marked him. He does not go away. He listens very attentively. His guru remarked that. So we can only give what we got. We're talking to leaders here. This is leadership training. If you want to build communities, you will have to communicate the vision to your team members, especially to the leaders in your team. And that has to be done not once, not twice, not thrice, but that has to be done regularly. It says there's a mission drift at least every 21 days. You can write that down. Every 3 weeks, you have to remind your team about what the vision is. Otherwise, they will start doing different stuff. They will just go off target. So we have to continuously hear Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, daily we hear Bhagavatam, and daily we connect to that powerhouse, to that source of clarity, of vision. Shastra Chakshush, to see through the eyes of scripture. Otherwise we start making up our own ideas. And honestly speaking, everything has been done. We're in Kali Yuga here. Like this is the last stop on the train. I told you there's more people getting off the train as we speak. So in Kali Yuga, it's the last stop of the train, which means everything has already been tried before. People have tried karma, they have tried jnana, they have tried yoga, they have tried everything. The only thing that's missing is bhakti. Thank you. That's the only thing that's missing. So we're talking to you as leaders who want to build communities who spread bhakti. Now, what type of communities? That's up to you. You may do that through Go Seva, through Murti Seva, through book distribution, through having a home gathering, through having a farm, through doing youth programs, through doing academic outreach. There is unlimited ways how you can build communities. But you got to have a vision, and you got to be able to communicate that vision. So we have to hear continuously from the right source, and then communicate without adulteration. Then comes, what does the heart stand for? Intuition, close. Warm, intention, warmer. Incentive, interaction. Work with me, people. What do you need after you got vision? And you want to... We got the heart here. It's good to have some mechanical engineers, but we also, we need some of those humanity people too, right? Can you go to BHU, Varanasi? And Jawaharlal Nehru, we need some humanities, anthropology, sociology, psychology, those ology guys, we need some of those guys too. Please, get me some of those. Have you heard of inspiration? Yeah? Now, Srila Prabhupada once said, I want to spread Krishna consciousness everywhere at once. That's pretty large. That's pretty big vision, right? That's very inspirational because it shows that he was not small-minded. He was not just, okay, let's build a few temples and have a few disciples. No, let's spread this everywhere at once. And he wanted people from everywhere to come here to Mayapur, together chant and dance Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari. That's truly the house where everybody can fit in. The whole world can fit in. So that's inspirational. We need to not only hear these stories, we need to experience our own stories, you see? Because if your team members, again, you want to build communities? Who wants to build a community here? Okay, 7 people, the rest get out, okay? We're not here to teach you a few tricks, how you can sell more peanuts or, or make more money or be more famous. You can learn that somewhere else. If you want to build communities, what was the point before I got excited? Yes. And for that, you have to be inspired. You have to have a vision that's larger than yourself. If your community is about you, it will die with you. If it's about something bigger than you, it can sustain. You can write that down. You can also get a tattoo. Because sometimes you might get carried away. You may think like the project is about me and nobody gets past me. Have you ever seen projects like that? 3 people have. Thank you for your honesty. Huh? And you already know, okay, the project will be as good and as big as this person is, but that's where it ends. Huh? Prabhupada could have called it the Prabhupada movement. No, he called it the Hare Krishna movement, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, because he had a vision. And he saw what did not work well at the Gaudiya Math. Okay? So inspiration, we all need inspiration, things that drive us, that inspire us. Without pratyaksha, direct experience, there is no susukam kartum avyayam. So your duty as a team leader is to create an environment where every member can experience, direct experience of that inspiration. Prabhupada's mood was that anyone who walked through that door, he treated them like the future leaders of the Hare Krishna movement. And you know what happened? They became the future leaders of the Hare Krishna movement. Have you seen those videos, 26nd Avenue? All these stoned out hippies playing on gongs and shakers and all that, long hair and totally in the modes. Those became the guru sannyasis and acharyas of our movement. Why? Because Prabhupada did not see the deficiency, he did not see what was missing, he saw the potential in them. So write that down. Don't see the faults of your group, but see the potential of your group. And then fan that spark and work with the positive. Just like Jayananda, he picked people off the street. I'm in San Francisco, so San Francisco is Jayananda's turf. He's the one who took Ratha Yatra and made it happen. He picked people off the street. He said, "Can you hold a nail? Can you do that?" And the guy was like, "Yeah, why?" He said, "Here, hold this." And the guy held it. And then he said, "Can you hold a hammer?" He said, Yeah. "Okay, now hammer this." "Okay, you just keep going, okay?" And then he brought in prasadam. And then after a few hours, the guy just wanted to stay because Jayananda was so nice, because he kept talking to him and asking him questions and getting involved with him. You see, I'm very fortunate. I have godbrothers who are very intelligent, very eloquent, very accomplished, some of them very famous, but very few of them are very good listeners. Have you ever had somebody who listened to you without jumping in and interrupting you and telling you what to do and judging you? And you remember those few times that somebody actually heard you? You remember them? Or it's been too long? Huh? What is Bhagavad Gita? What is Srimad Bhagavatam? What is Chaitanya Charitamrita? It's questions and answers. There's dialogue. There's some samvad. There's some exchange. Not just of ideas, but also of emotions. So if you're not emotionally available, don't expect people to have bhava and prema, okay? You understand? Simple as that. So, inspiration. What drives your engine? Jayananda, he was a cab driver. He was driving a taxi. He was taking out the trash. He was also the temple president. When people came in, they thought this is just some janitor, this is just some guy, he's wearing dirty pants and, all that. And then they say, no, he's the president. He gave all his paycheck to Prabhupada. He got married twice. Twice it turned out she was a lesbian. But he just kept on serving. Built Ratha Yatra carts, gave the money to Prabhupada. So, You make a list of inspirational moments in your life, and when the things get tough, when things get difficult, you remember those things. Okay? And that's why we want everybody to experience the magic of Krishna consciousness. Do you want to experience the magic? 3 people want to experience the magic. 5. The others, they're already way over it. They're already so done with it that they're rolling in the ecstasy that, no more magic, no more of that bliss stuff, otherwise I might get a heart attack or something, I mean, when I came to the temple the first time, I met people who were exceptional. They gave me food, they gave me books, they gave me beads, but mostly they gave me attention. They gave me quality time. Gora Lila, Raja Vidya, and Atma Tattva. These 3 guys, I could call from home anytime, day or night, they would answer my questions. Because I was reading the Gita and the Bhagavatam, a lot of strange words, a lot of strange concepts, a lot of new ideas. I was 15 years old. I wrote down everything. When I had a page full, I called the temple. I knew any of these 3 guys would answer my questions. For 1 hour, they were on the phone talking to that kid, answering those questions. If you want to build a community, you have to give your heart to people. And you know what happens? They will pay you back with the same currency. So don't expect people to give their heart if you're not ready to even lend them an ear. Okay? You're not a project manager. We're not trying to train efficiency here. It's not about how to make more lemonade or how to, spend less. It's about how to direct your attention, how to actually move forward. So, Prabhupada is the biggest inspiration for me in my life. And not the Prabhupada that nowadays people want to make him like God, like Jesus. That he was, the person who... Anyway, one time they asked Prabhupada, how long did it take you to perfect your japa? And Prabhupada could have said, I was born perfect. I'm coming from there, I was hanging with Krishna, we were like this, coward boys or whatever. Huh? No, what did he say? He said 40 years. It took me 40 years to perfect my japa. Huh? So, the point I'm trying to make is that Prabhupada was very conscious, very considerate, very compassionate. He was standing in line for the bathroom because he thought maybe they're rich kids, they don't know these things, so they're a little spoiled. So it's okay, let me do everything. Till one fine day somebody asked, Swamiji, can I help? And he said, yes. I thought nobody would ever ask. But he was ready to do everything himself. Okay? So as a leader, don't complain, okay, where is my team? Like sometimes, we opened a storefront in San Francisco. And sometimes you get these calls of people who are like, I would like to come to San Francisco, and then the next question is, what's my package? You ever have people who call and they say, what's my package? And I say, wrong question. We're not giving packages. You see, Amazon delivers packages, and they sell product. They move product. We're supposed to move hearts. So we're giving people an opportunity. And yes, we'll also look after you according to our capacity, what we can do. We try our level best to facilitate you and your family. But you get the idea? So I'm talking to leaders who want to build communities. What type of community? That depends on you. You can, the sky's the limit. But there has to be, this is a sequence. So work with your heart. Emotional intelligence. I know it's hard, especially if you come from a more science background, but emotional intelligence is here. It's not here, it's here. And which brings us to the next point. After vision and inspiration, what comes next? What is this? Perspiration, thank you. Hey, you're good, you know? I must give you that. You're good. You got to actually go and do something, you know? Before you write your autobiography, go live life, okay? Live a little bit before you start writing on your autobiography. Just in case, if you were wondering, you know, to write your autobiography. That was a joke. Anyway, perspiration. So you have to roll back your sleeves. When I lived in Mayapur from winter of 2005 till fall of 2008, I became the community chairman, MCS chairman, which is a very glorified title. And it sounds like you're the mayor of the town, but actually quite far from that. We had a budget of 500 rupees a month, which was for the phone of the secretary. And our office was non-existent. It was a virtual office. And we had gatherings. And I realized that a lot of the people who were in the group, they were very comfortable to just get together and talk. Have you ever been in groups like that? Of people very comfortable to talk? Yeah? So it happens, right? Yeah, 7 people have the same experience. Now, today's Monday. In fact, it's Monday morning, and I like Monday mornings because that's when you're actually supposed to go and do something, right? So after a while, as the community chairman, I started allocating tasks and projects to different members of the group. And I said, you go out, you try, and then next weekend, or next Wednesday was our schedule, we'll actually report back and we assess, and then we go further. Many of the seniors, they didn't like that. So after a few months, they got a new chairman, which was fine with me. Because if you want to have a group of talkers, you'll get a group of talkers. If you want an audience, you get your audience. There is an audience for, there's a market for every product out there. You can sell soap on a rope, or insects, deep fried in motor oil with chili flakes and sugar glazing on it. It sells. I guarantee you that. So, but again, you have to define what is it that I would like to do. Okay? So perspiration, you have to actually apply yourself. Prabhupada worked hard. He got up every night without the help of an alarm clock at around midnight, and he translated 6 pages. Have you ever written 6 pages? For your Bhakti Vaibhava or Bhakti Vedanta? You know? Write a little essay, 2-3 pages. It's tough, right? It's tough. It takes hours. Every night he wrote 6 pages. Why? Because he felt my pain. He knew that little kid who's going to go to boarding school in the Swiss Alps, totally confused, high on sugar and sports, but doesn't know where his life is going. If my books are there in the library, maybe there's hope. Maybe there is a glimpse of hope for that kid. That's why he stayed up and wrote those books. So, he worked hard. Prabhupada worked very hard. Now I know you're ready for this, and that's why I'm going to tell it to you. Get up early. And early doesn't mean just like showing up and ticking the box, you know. Early means early. If you're the leader, if you're the teacher, you got to be 3 or 5 steps ahead of the game, okay? So get up early, read more, chant more, do your homework, and be ready, be prepared. Because oftentimes, you only have one shot. And if you're not at your best, you're going to miss. And that means that person is gone. You lost that opportunity. Okay? I'm on the street distributing books, and it's not like people come to me. I have to go out and hustle and approach them. And if I'm not there, if I'm not conscious, if I'm not at my best, I cannot make that connection. I cannot really connect with that person. And that requires, which is the next part here, that requires a certain level of intensity. And that comes from Determination, yes, but even a little further than that is desperation. It sounds a little radical, right? You know, there's a few drops for perspiration here because you will sweat a little bit. But desperation, just one drop, okay, just a pinch. Not crushing. Just like the acharyas say, yes, there should be remorse in our heart because we know we have made a few mistakes. Anyone here has made some mistakes in their life? That's pretty impressive. The last group I had, they were all perfect. And I was like, class dismissed. I mean, you're the wrong guys. You know, like, I give you A+. Just go, you know. Hear what the other sadhus have to say. Don't waste your time, you know. So, I made plenty of mistakes in my life. The acharyas say it's good to feel remorse, but not a ton of it, just a little bit. Because otherwise, your remorse may crush you and make you depressed. And then when people look at you, you know, when you're on the street, when you're facing the public, you have one moment only. When people look at you, they make that visceral decision. I'm going to talk to you because I want to know what you're all about, and you look kind of like a happy, interesting guy. Maybe I want to become like you. Or they make the decision, I want to be as far away from you as possible. Have you noticed? Have you ever made that kind of decisions in your life? Yes. If you're honest, yes. Yes. So why do we get up early? Why do we chant Hare Krishna? Why do we read the books? So that when we are actually facing the public, the only question on people's minds should be, how can I be like this person? What is this person doing that they're so attractive? Prabhupada was not a tall person, but Prabhupada had such a gravity, such an intensity, such a desperate desire to spread the mission of his guru. He created like a vortex. You know vortex? Like it just pulled people. You know who was the first person Prabhupada met when he came to the great country of the United States? It was a Coast Guard off Boston Harbor who was driving around in his little Coast Guard ship. And Prabhupada was on the Jaladuta, and Prabhupada was waving and smiling. And the Coast Guard was waving back at him. 4 years later, he joined and became a devotee. Later, he took sannyas, Chyavana Swami. Why? Because Prabhupada's glance touched him. I was reading this morning, Dhruva was standing in Madhuvan on one leg, chanting, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, perfecting his mantra. And after 6 months, the universe was choking. And the devas were very perturbed, and Vishnu came to appease Dhruva. So work with your mantra. If people ask you, what are you doing? You can say, I'm working on my glands. I'm working on my glands. Because when you go out there and you meet people, you ever read that in the Bhagavatam, that the tortoise and the fish, how they maintain their offspring? Through glands, through touch, like that? Through meditation? Huh? In a similar way, you will grow your group. You will grow your community. It means you have to be into it. It's not something you can do half-hearted. You have to be into it. You have to dedicate yourself to this. And yes, it requires a certain level of intensity, a certain level of desperation. But that's internal. That's not something that you put on a t-shirt and you put it to the outside. That's something that's internal. Okay? Any questions so far?
How have you applied this in San Francisco?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Thank you. How have I applied it? I realized what was the need, and we opened a storefront, and we have programs that are accessible for the people who are in San Francisco, which is a third techies, a third homosexuals, and a third homeless people. And the other few normal people, they just flew in for a conference for the weekend, and they're leaving in a day. So we made programs that are relevant, relatable, and attractive to who is there. And we attracted the attention of a few sincere souls, built a team, and empowered them. And it's running. I'm here. I'm in India since 6 months. And they're doing better when I'm not there. The quality of your leadership is tested. What happens when you are not there? That is the quality of your leadership. So, which brings us to the unpleasant facts of life, that our time is limited. If you want your project to survive, to sustain, set up succession, recognize talent, recognize leaders, empower them. You retain responsibility, but you delegate authority. Not the other way around. Oftentimes we're faced with that people delegate responsibility, but they retain authority. That doesn't work. Oh yeah, you got to do the job and it's your fault, but I'm the boss. No, the other way around. So, your job as a leader is to find people who are smarter, more dedicated, more skilled, and more resourceful than you. You heard of Steve Jobs, the Apple guy? A guy who was up in Portland, Oregon, in his garage working on the first personal computer, forgetting about sleeping and eating, and then walking 7 miles to the Hare Krishna temple to eat 1 meal a week, going back to the garage, working on his dream, on his vision, working very hard. He said, I was not a good coder, I was not a good hardware guy, but he was an evangelist, he was a preacher. He preached the gospel of the personal computer. And he was humble enough to recognize talent and to bring people in who were better coders, better mechanical, better structural, and empowering them and building a team and creating team dynamics that were healthy, that were positive tension. And now it's one of the biggest companies on the planet. So if you want your thing, whatever your thing is, if you want your thing to survive, you have to put a good level of thought and effort into creating healthy team dynamics. And that meant for me also taking myself out of the center or even stepping back in order to have more oxygen and more light so the whole thing can actually grow. Because otherwise sometimes the situation becomes suffocating. Like right now we're facing a scenario that for sociological, historical, or just circumstantial reasons, our organization is constipated. Have you ever been constipated? It's a rhetorical question. It's not a very pleasant scenario. Remember the story with Chyavanamuni and Sukanya and, all that. So, don't allow your project to become constipated. You are the leader. You have to see the need and you have to make arrangement that there is succession and empowerment and you can bring in new people. There is space for new people. There is place for thought and for discussion. So that's San Francisco. It's a storefront like New York. This program almost every day. And it's there. It's happening. So that's that. Other questions? Yes?
Responsibility and authority, can you just repeat it? Responsibility, authority.
You retain responsibility because you're responsible. Are you? You look like a responsible person, right? But you have to delegate authority. Have you ever met a person that was supposed to do a job, but he was not authorized to do the job? Lazy intelligence, you see, if you take an analogy, you can't just mix analogies up. And how does this count? Like you told me to go out and work hard and perspire, but I want to be lazy intelligent. Yes, if you're just lazy intelligent, it means that you just sit down. If you run around, you can make 100 rupees. If you sit down, you can make 200 rupees. So it's not a bad thing to sit down. But sometimes you also have to go and run around because otherwise nothing will happen. You get it? So an analogy goes from one point to a certain point. Don't stretch it too far, otherwise the analogy breaks. Okay? That applies to all analogies. Don't try to use them as a universal principle. Now, these are principles. Vision, inspiration, these are principles. The details, you have to apply them. Time, place, and circumstance. Other questions? We got 15 minutes for questions and discussion. Yes, yes, and yes. No, team building happens all throughout. I mean, a leader is continuously looking to build their team. Prabhupada had to work with who he got. And he didn't complain. He didn't say, these are a bunch of rejects and throwouts. He saw the potential in them, and he built them up. So we have to work in whichever situation we are with the people that we have, and make the most of it. Why would Krishna give us more if we don't appreciate what we have? Huh? Right now, if I give you $5 million, the quality of your life or the quality of your preaching would not increase exponentially. I guarantee you that. Why? Because we have not grown yet to that capacity that we could actually utilize those resources in a productive way. So right now, Krishna has very graciously given us a little bit of time to do our homework, to get ourselves ready, to prepare us. Before people will come, once this thing opens here, better fasten your seatbelt. It's going to get crazy. I guarantee you that. It's going to get crazy. There's going to be millions of people running around here every day of the week, of the year. And we have to start building teams. Otherwise, we'll really look stupid. It's okay to feel a little stupid every now and then, but not consistently. Yes? Yes. Not just on the top, also on the bottom. Like you create a brahmachari ashram and you recruit another 50 mechanical engineers every year and you stick them in the ashram. What happens after 5 or 7 or 10 years? What happens? You got a problem there, right? Not just a logistical problem, but you got a problem that you have high power individuals with really, really intense brainiacs. And they're just wrecking themselves. So you need to get people in, train them up, and then send them out and empower them. Okay? So you can get constipation on every level of the organization, not just on the top. You can also get it at the bottom. You can also get it at the middle, where everybody's just buddy-buddy and nobody respects nobody. And it's just like, who are you to tell me anything? Like, why do you think you're special? So you have to have a healthy body. That means balance. The key message of Bhagavad Gita is balance. Prabhupada, yes, he wanted to create Brahmins, because without eyes, without the brain, without the heart, the whole thing doesn't work. But without legs and arms, it also doesn't work so well. So we need everybody, and we can engage everybody. But that means I have to have vision. I have to see beyond my little personal selfish interest. I can't be small-minded. And that's what's lacking nowadays. That's why we need elders, we need grandmothers, we need grandfathers, people who have been through life and who can, with a detached and a benevolent and a kind mood, guide the younger generations and help them to figure stuff out. There was one more here. You have to regularly assess. You have to continuously assess. And that means you have to have your Ishtagoshti. You have to have at least once a week get together and discuss threadbare. What worked? What didn't work? How can we improve? There has to be open dialogue. Not just like in the airport, that suggestion box on the wall near to the restroom, and the janitor comes once a day and pours it into the trash can. I live to be corrected, but don't you dare say anything against me. You know what I mean? It's not a PR stunt. People are not patient, they're not tolerant, they're not smart, but they are averse to hypocrisy. So when they see that we're not walking our talk, they get very disappointed and they just leave. Now how would they know that we are hypocrites? Krishna is in their heart. He will tell them. Huh? Just like when you're on the street, you're distributing books. People, they already have their wallet out, but then they take one last look at you. And they look at the book and they look at you and they look at the book and they look at you. You ever had that scenario, that situation? Nope, I just changed my mind. Why? Because it's not matching. This looks like bhakti, it looks like service, it looks like love, but here in your eyes I see dollar signs. You already counted your score. You already thought like, hey, you know, look how I did this, you know, like, wow. This was something, you know. And the guy, well, you know what? I really want this book, but not from you. Huh? Has anyone ever told you that? No, certainly not, because you're in a polite, in a civilized country. If you're in San Francisco, they tell you a few more things, you know. I can give you a whole list of things that they're going to tell you. And if you're not ready to listen to that, you're not ready to face the music, you won't be a leader. Because as a leader, you will see and hear everything and more. Like sometimes people give you a piece of their mind, but sometimes they give you a few more pieces of their mind. And it can be a little overwhelming sometimes. So unless we are connected to inspirational sadhana every day, and we can connect to the source and get rid of that, you know, all that stuff that people throw at you, you will get bogged down, you will get depressed, and you can get sick. You can get very disturbed. So, as leaders, as builders of communities, it is our first and foremost duty, self-care. Okay? Write that down. Take time off. Yes, Maharaj?
Anything else that goes into building a Krishna conscious community that was special about Prabhupada and the way he did it. Because we hear a lot about communities. We are not the only ones building communities. And there is online community now. For every small thing you have a community. So what's it special about our community that's a Krishna conscious community that makes it different?
I mean, we're in the family here, so we're discussing some pretty intimate things. ISKCON is number one in first contact. We're out there everywhere. Legal, illegal, any possible and impossible place, we're out there giving people books, giving them the holy name, giving them prasadam. When it comes to cultivation, follow-up, we're not that great. When it comes to retaining people, we're terrible. Who here is from the 80s? Anybody was here in the 80s? There's 4 people. What happened? Let the historians write that book. Huh? So, love and trust. If we don't have love and trust, if we don't create an environment of love and trust where I feel I'm home, I can share my heart. Just to give you an example, I was in Moscow in the mid-2010s, and it was Brahmotsava in Yurlova, the installation of the deity, their anniversary. And Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu, who, you know Gopi? Who translated the Bhagavatam and Briya Bhagavatamrita and other books. He was preaching in Russia and in China, so he was there. And I asked him, what are you working on? And he said, do you have a memory stick? And I said, yeah. So I gave it to him. And he copied all the books that he was working on and gave it to me. He didn't say, this is classified information, or, you know, don't give this to anybody. Why not? Because he considered that you and me, we're on the same team. Whatever I have, you should have. Because we're on the same team, and we need to succeed together. Have you ever been in a situation where a person did not give you information, or gave you false information, and wanted you to fail? 3 people have had that experience. This is a pretty exceptional group here. I'm quite impressed. You're very fortunate. My guru sent me to San Francisco because I can work with Vaisheshika Prabhu, who is in Mountain View, which is just 40 minutes away. So I didn't have to do legal, I didn't have to do meetings, or I said, I don't do meetings, I don't do spreadsheets, I don't do any of that stuff. I just preach, and you take care of administration. So you have to know what you want to do. Prabhupada was a visionary, and he knew that different people have different natures, and they will use their talents. But ultimately what keeps them here is if they can actually experience the love and trust of a Krishna conscious community. But that means we have to walk the talk. Prabhupada's heart was open. And Giriraj Maharaj told me when I visited him in Carpinteria in California that it was very, very astounding that Prabhupada was unconditionally loving. He was really available. At the same time, he was supremely detached. He was very detached. You ever wondered why Aishwaryasya, Samagrasya, Yashasha, what's the rest? Virasya, Yasasa, Shriya, Jnana, Vairagya. Why Vairagya? Why renunciation? All the others are, fame and wealth and beauty and renunciation. What's so great about renunciation? If you're truly happy, truly fulfilled, you don't want anything from anybody. That is very attractive. And that's why Prabhupada was able to capture so many hearts, because he was completely absorbed and satisfied in his Krishna consciousness. So as long as we try to manipulate people, we try to exploit them, we try to use them for our own little ideas and projects, for our own little gimmicks, then people will come in with the similar type of mentality, and they think, yeah, okay, you're going to play games, I'm going to show you how we play games here. And then it just becomes, just blue, red, and yellow. Trigunamai, it's just the whole Divina Commedia. It's just the same zoo that goes on in the mature world, in maybe a little bit more refined, a little more cultured way. Now, when you actually read Prabhupada's books, like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhanu Maharaj is giving this interesting topic on Shiksha and Diksha and all how it relates. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita it says we should regard and respect the Shiksha, Diksha and Varma Pradarshaka Guru on the equal level. Otherwise the preaching cannot expand. That's a pretty heavy statement. Have we understood this? Have we applied this? Have we lived this? Now, I'm speaking to you as leaders, and I don't care where you were born. I don't care to which church your mother went to or how your father made his money, because in bhakti, that doesn't matter. So as long as we are influenced by karma, gyan, yoga, we are smartas, we judge people according to externals. As Anuttama Prabhu was saying this morning, if you want intelligent people, you have to allow people to think. Now, sometimes we're too busy doing stuff and we don't really have time to think and to process. I read this beautiful thing in Nectar of Instruction. Prabhupada defines utsaha, or enthusiasm, as endeavor in Krishna consciousness with intelligence. You can write that down. Enthusiasm is endeavor in Krishna consciousness with intelligence. Now that's poetry, right? That's beautiful. What does Kaviraj Goswami Pad say? True eloquence is truth spoken concisely. And that's what will attract caliber persons, and they will want to stay because they understand this is. They ask George Harrison, you're famous, you're successful, you have money, you have fans, you have accomplishments. Why are you hanging out with those Hare Krishnas? There's a bunch of weird people, a bunch of losers. Why are you hanging with those people? You could be with anybody. In fact, anybody wants to be with you. He said, it's very simple. At the end of the day, if you line everybody up, you line them up, there's those people and then there's these people. He said, I'd rather be with those guys than with you guys. Because he was a devotee. So people who are virtuous, who are looking for how to make a difference, they will connect with your message. and they will be ready to sacrifice whatever it takes. Now again, there's communities of all sorts. Some of you may want to do big projects, some of you want to do small projects, some want to do online, offline, but these are just some thoughts. Then again, after the what, why comes the who. Who can we engage? Who do we need in our communities? Everybody. We can use everybody, right? And the how and the where and the when, that will be revealed. So work with these questions and build your communities and become empowered. Krishna Shakti Vinanahetara Pravartana. The sky's the limit. I guarantee you, money back guarantee from this seminar, you will never have a dull moment in your life if you connect with Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. Because Sankirtan is the school of life. You can write that down. Sankirtan is the school of life. And don't just become a busy manager. Go out and do Harinam, do chanting, and go out and preach, distribute books. Meet people and see how they turn, how they change right in front of your eyes. Somebody was here yesterday when I gave my presentation? One person. Okay, I can tell two. All right, I tell a different story so you don't feel bored. So I was in Miami and I was on South Beach, and there was two businessmen. We're just finishing. Two businessmen walking there. They were all wearing the right clothes and watches, and they looked very tan and buff and middle-aged. And they were having very animated discussion, walking down on the boardwalk next to the beach. A lot of joggers and beachgoers and cafes. So I wanted to give them books, but I saw that it was kind of impolite. I can't just jump in there and start talking to them because they're very absorbed in their interaction. So I didn't know what to do. Have you ever been in a situation where you didn't know what to do? What do you do when three people didn't know what to do? The rest has figured it out. What do you do when you don't know what to do? Pray. To who? Krishna. Yeah, that's a good idea. Krishna, right now would be a good time for a miracle. Because I can't do this, It's not possible. But I know you can. You can reach them. So I just started speaking. I just opened my mouth and I said, I know it's hard to be humble when you're 53 years old and 6'3" tall. That's 1.90 m, for those who have a different. So I know it's hard to be humble when you're 53 and 6'3". And one guy said, do you know me? Do you know who I am? Have you been following me? And I'm like, dude, I'm 53 and I'm 6'3". I know how you feel. And he cooled down and he started smiling. So I gave him a big hug, and then I gave him the book, and he gave me the donation. And nothing more had to be explained. So the point is that if you want to build communities, make sure you're clear on what is the purpose of your community, what is the type of interaction that you want. Everything has already been done before. The only thing that's missing is Krishna Bhakti, Harinam Sankirtan. This is the process that works. So don't get lost in your current scenario, in your current picture, and try to expand your vision by hearing constantly from the right source and building groups, building teams, empowering them, and not being scared to also step aside or step back and just let the team flourish and continue the legacy, because this is parampara. This is what Prabhupada wanted. There was Narad and Vyasa and all the sages and munis, and then a 16-year-old naked kid walked in and started talking to the king and giving him shiksha, giving him the instruction. That is our legacy. That is our parampara. When you see people in your team who will do better and bigger than you and I could ever have done before, that should be our joy. That's like Bhishmadev lying in ecstasy on the bed of arrows, because he saw that now finally the Pandavas had achieved their adequate position. So thank you for your kind attention and for your dedication to the movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and being loyal followers of Srila Prabhupada. And again, It doesn't matter who your Diksha Gurus are, not because I don't care, but because I respect and love them equally. But it's not the main issue. Don't get stuck in groupism or in nationalism or in north-south, east-west isms, because they have it's not sustainable approach to life. Connect yourself to the Bhagavatam every day by getting up early, reading, chanting attentively, and then take it to the moon. Krishna Shakti Vinanahe Tara Pravartana. This movement has a lot of scope. There's a big world out there, 8 billion people, a lot of scope. And we need everyone's help. To finish up with San Francisco, even though Prabhu left to ask me about San Francisco, the first people who started San Francisco, Prabhupada wasn't there to start it. He just told Michael Grant, "Oh, you're going to San Francisco? Yeah, you should open a center there while you're there." He just said it like as he was walking out the door. Some hippie, musician. He just told him, "Yeah, when you go to San Francisco, you open a center there." You see? That's empowerment. That's what we need. When I was 23 years old, I was called to Mayapur and I asked why. My guru said, "We just made you the minister of Bhakti Sibhushan." I distributed a few books back then. And I asked him, "What is my job description?" He said, "We're not there yet. We don't have job descriptions. But you're already doing it, so don't worry about it." So keep on distributing and keep on preaching and keep on spreading the Sankirtan movement. And anybody who gives you trouble, you send them to me. I will take care of them. I said, "Okay, deal. We got a deal." That is empowerment. If you want your project, your team, your venture, your community to grow, you have to have that type of approach. Not insecure, territorial, fear-based, or incentive-based. Then we'll always get arto and artarti. We'll always get just a lower range. Not very bright, not very progressive type. So thank you for your kind attention, and I wish you a happy ILS. I hope you got a couple of insights, and yeah, let me know next time how it went with building your communities. I know many of you are already doing it very successfully, so I'm just here to share my struggle with you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasnubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.